What is up, everyone? It is Nico and Tisha here. We have actually a really fun day because this is again a conversation that I've been wanting to have for a while. So thank you for having this on, and I'll get on your podcast pretty soon. But very special guest here today, not just a fantastic friend, but entrepreneur here in Phoenix, and it's definitely been one of those people I've been aspiring to get to because she is a hustler. So who's the special guest? Give us the whole story in a nutshell, and yeah, introduce yourself.
The whole enchilada. Okay.
Whole
All right.
yes, not this early. I'm more of a scrambled eggs type of guy this early in the morning. But you want to do enchilada today?
I'm more of a boiled egg person this early in the morning.
Boiled egg with some cheese. I got it. Yeah.
Yes. All right. Good morning, everybody. My name is Tisha Marie Pelletier, and my company is Tisha Marie Enterprises, LLC. And I am really about inspiring people to get out of their own way and just get it done, make it happen, and to do that in a variety of ways through personal brand strategy, through business mentoring. I love mentoring, especially the startup community, and then through some events, some very unique events that I host around town, and being a kick-ass speaker. I know Nico and I have that in common of loving to get up on the stage and get up and speak. And yes, so I'm also an author. So I've written a couple of books about my own personal journey of life and business and kids and motherhood and all that good stuff. That's so awesome. Life's exciting. Definitely.
Life is exciting. So I want to highlight one thing that you mentioned earlier. You really help people focus on getting out of their own way, which I completely agree with. I think the thing in between our 2 ears kind of can be the best tool or not the best tool for us. So give us one little tip how someone can potentially take something, start doing something today to get out of their own way.
I think that I come across a lot of people, Nico, who have a brilliant idea, but that idea will never see the sunlight because they just keep it in their head. And so I always say it's really good to have a mentor because that mentor can say, okay, let's put a plan in place. Let's put some action behind this and let's start to move that idea out of your head onto paper and into action. So you can't just keep that idea stuck in your head. It'll never get anywhere. So talking to someone, not just being on, I like to say that many of us, when we enter into this world of entrepreneurship, feel like we're on isolated island, right? Mm-hmm. We're like, I have to do it by myself. I have to figure this out by myself. When there's there's so many resources out there that can say, hey, okay, let's take that idea and let's go with it. Let's go with it. It may not be your strong suit, but maybe someone else has those strengths in order for you to start pushing that idea along.
That's awesome. And, you've had a very interesting journey up until this point, but I really want to focus on the last, let's say 12 months, because you've made some big changes in your life. So tell the audience about that. And then you must have been able to get out of your own way because some great stuff has happened. So walk us through the last 12 months specifically.
The last 12 months specifically. Well, I will tell you, I actually have a whole speech penned about this, Nico. So a lot of people don't know that I actually had a part-time job last year because we'll come to a point, and I call it the Cinderella complex. And I have a great talk about this. I'm actually getting ready to deliver. But I figured out that a lot of us will come into the Cinderella complex of, I have these big aspirations and these dreams, but I'm not quite there yet. And I have to figure out how to make it work. Because I hate to say it, you still need money coming in order to survive. I mean, I know, right?
That's like a weird concept.
Shocker. But I meet so many entrepreneurs that are like, Tisha, I have to get the day job. Tisha, I've got to get the part-time job. Tisha. And I was like, trust me when I say that you're not the only person that's had to do that. And you have to realize that it is a temporary stepping stone. If anything, it's like buying yourself some time, right? It's buying yourself some time to figure things out, to get on that momentum again. And then the antidote for that is really to start betting on you. And that I was stuck in a lot of that, Nico, of I don't know if I can do this. I was getting in my own way, like you said. And I feel like over the last several months, have really started to build up that confidence of, hey, I can do this. I'm going to do this. It's going to happen for me. And things have started to really shift in a very positive way, where I think I shared like 12 months ago, I wasn't getting booked for paid speaking gigs. And now it's like, it's such a different mindset shift when you're like, I've got this. I know what I'm doing. I'm confident. I've got that value. I bring the value to the table,
I have
and
something
things
to
just
give
start
the
to
world.
happen. Right. But so many of us are stuck in this devaluing ourselves, and then just kind of throwing that party for ourselves that we're like, oh, we're stuck in this place when we really should be here. I get it. I've been there. I have so been there. That was just even recently where I decided to just exit out of my job and say, I better start betting on me and making this happen. And things have started to exponentially change just even in my own business and in my own world. So it's just a big tip.
I love that. So, and this is a selfish, a little selfish question, but how was that decision made? Was it that I'm confident in my abilities now? Is it that, I just, it's something in me pushing me, or is it something external? Because I know there's a lot of people who are on that fence, right? They're working on their side gig and they're starting to see some success, and they might have questions on when is the right time. But I think it's, I learned the best by example. So what was that example for you? And I'm a little selfish here because I kind of know the answer, but like the very high level answer. So I'm excited to jump into the goodies.
Honestly, for me, someone had said this to me, and I think it resonated so well with me, but you're going to come to a point where you say enough is enough. Enough is enough. And I definitely reached that point where I said, enough is enough, and I need to start getting out of my own way. And my good friend Mario Bain, he was actually the one that's like, you need to start betting on yourself. Like, bet on you every time, just keep betting on you. And it was, for me, it was a hard point because, as I was sharing, Nico, I had this day job, but I was also still building my business on the side. And that's so many entrepreneurs have the side hustle, right? Where they're trying to build it, but they also have this job that's kind of anchoring them. And there were so many times where I would come from a speaking event with standing room only, and then go to my day job going, what is
like
this?
Parallels, right? It's like, we're not two parallels,
Yes.
it's like opposite, they're polar opposites.
Right.
Yep.
Right. Well, and so for me, like you mentioned that I have this event. I was hosting my Social Connect event in April, and this is where that Cinderella complex story came into play. But I had April 30th was the day that I hosted this, and I walked out onto the rooftop, my 1-year anniversary, packed with people, had advertised maybe $8, so a lot of word of mouth. It was just a lot of word of mouth, people hearing about it in the community and showing up. And the next day, I remember having to switch my schedule, and I was back at my day job, just feeling just the low of the low, right? And a good friend of mine, Nat, called me while I was at work, and he's like, how are you feeling, rock star? And I'm like, I feel like I'm
You're like, I know when I talk about it.
I'm like, I feel like I'm Cinderella. He's like, that's so good, Cinderella's good. I'm like, no, it's Cinderella bad. This is bad. This is bad news.
It's like the ball has ended and you're like back in the pumpkin, or I forgot how the story goes.
Exactly. I'm in like the tattered clothes. I'm hanging out with the mice. I'm sweeping the stairs. Like, that's how I felt mentally. That's how I felt just emotionally of what am I doing with my life? And honestly, that day, Nico, I got up this courage to go. Courage actually was my 2019 word. We talk about the one word of the year. I went into my supervisor's office and was like, I got to go. I'm so sorry. I got to go. Like, that's exactly how I said it to her. I'm like, this is my date. I got to get out of here. And she had already known, she had already seen me going through and really preparing myself to make that transition. And here's the interesting thing. We talk about this. Timing is everything in your life, right? Timing. And when I mentioned that to her, she said, we were actually going to let you go because we lost our funding.
Oh.
So it worked out so well that it was like, well, she was going to let me go. I was ready to leave. Timing was everything. The universe kind of like things aligned,
right?
Yeah, we left on good terms. I finished out the next couple of weeks, and then I was like, done. That was a chapter in my life that I've now closed and moving on.
That's awesome. So now we want to kind of move forward into where you are today speaking. I have yet to have a paid speaking gig, so that's always interesting to me because you're for sure ahead on the speaker's curve. So I'm still building my repertoire with speaking, and thank goodness I've had more experience because of your great event. Even with technical difficulties, we were able to figure it out. So. always can't control, and they can't control everything. So walk us through how that transition happened, because, besides running a business, hosting events, you do speak. And I think there's a lot of people here who have a message, but don't know how they got to get started with actually getting paid to speak, or just speaking at events in general. Like, walk us through that process.
Sure. So I've been speaking for a long time. Even when I first started my business, I started with a marketing company, in fact, Nico, back in 2004. And any opportunity I had to speak, like you were sharing, to build up that reputation and that repertoire is a good thing. So you keep wanting to build that visibility, because what is it helping you do? It's helping you to practice. It's helping you to get the feedback that you need to keep improving your speaking abilities. Absolutely. And I was very fortunate that a friend of mine was hosting this speaker training workshop, and it was her first class. And I jumped in. I invested, here's the key, invest in yourself, right? So I invested money into paying for this course. And religiously, even after my day job, so again, doing both things at one time, for 4 weeks, I would go to the speaker training course for 3 hours after my own job, my day job, and spend 3 hours honing in on my speech. And the one thing they said is, if you were going to give a keynote, what would that message be? And I really pulled into what was some of my experiences that I've had. And I decided that my keynote that I love to give is on embracing failure. It's very broad. It can go to several people, several different audiences, because we've all experienced failure, right? Yeah. And how do we pick ourselves back up from that? And so that was a really good opportunity to hone the speech, get the feedback from people who are professionals in their industry, who are already doing it, who are speaking for a living and getting paid. And then from there, we had our graduation we had to deliver the full-on speech to another set of judges in front of an audience. And those judges were, in fact, giving us feedback. But there was one person in the room. So this is kind of what catapulted it. One person in the room was screening all of me and my classmates, so to speak. And she had a paid speaking gig where she was recruiting one of us, but none of us knew. So you had to be on your game. And I ended up getting it. Yeah, she was like, it's you, we want you. So I ended up getting my first speaking gig, which paid very little, but it was just the start of what? Oh my gosh, like now I get to get paid for this. And then from there, referrals, I think putting yourself out there that I am a speaker, this is what I do. And then really being very, specific on, these are the topics that I really enjoy talking on, but also saying that if you have a topic that you, that might be within my wheelhouse, tell me, and I can always create something. I always say that, remember how we used to write essays? I know you've written essays, you're more out of school than I am, but we've always had to write essays, and you always had to do the research, and you always had to put it together, and then you had to go and sometimes present it. So it's no different, in my opinion, if you're going to come up with a new speech or a new topic. Some of the speaking gigs I've done are because they've asked me, hey, could you do a talk on this? And it's the same amount of work. You're still getting in there, and you're still doing the research, and you're still putting your content together. But there are several websites out there. The one that I'm on currently, I'm going to plug them, but it's called eSpeaker. eSpeaker.com. They're offering like a 3-month trial. It's $10 a month for their pro system. Nothing. Yeah, but it's a CRM specifically for speakers, and they do have paid speaking gigs within there that you can apply for. So I look at it, the other tip that I got from a good friend, and it's not always going to, present the opportunity, but to put on a Google alert for call for speakers. So if you put a Google alert, every day they're sending you, hey, this was a call for speakers, but you might find an opportunity within that where you can go ahead and apply, and you might get chosen. But I think that anytime you're able to get in front of an audience, you never know, Nico, like maybe you don't. Okay, so here's a great example. I spoke at Phoenix Startup Week last year. It was a non-paid gig, but I understand those are my people. Phoenix, community, startups, all of that. Ended up getting chosen to speak, walked in, standing room only. I had one person in the audience who put me on a podcast of his, which then translated to a future speaking gig later. And then I had another person, Sasha Simmons, who you met. She was there.
She's awesome.
She's awesome. She had to back out of a speaking gig for the U.S. Department of Agriculture and referred me to go speak in her place, which was another paid speaking gig. So there's going to be opportunities where your friends who are speakers can't fulfill it because of other obligations, but maybe they're like, hey, but he's great. He's awesome. He knows his stuff. And, so I do think that it's a very tightly knit community of people who are referring because they've seen you in action. They can trust you. They know your content. They know how you deliver. And you can't do that if you're like, I don't want to get up and speak.
If you're sitting on the sidelines, right? Yeah.
Get off the sidelines. That's a big tip. Get off the sidelines.
It's so important. I often talk about, like, I got into marketing because I went on Instagram and DM'd tons of CEOs in Silicon Valley and asked if I can do free work for them. And that's what I'm hearing, not just what you did here in a sense, like speaking for free, but you networked with those individuals, not just speakers, but also probably the event organizers. And after the fact, you probably followed up with them and you built those relationships. So, in my opinion, what I'm hearing is you just added the human element back into it and you saw it as a relationship game. No, it's amazing. And I want to focus on very tactfully, like, let's say someone's inspired to be a speaker now, or they've been speaking and they want to get that first thing. So what would you say? Is it the investment? Is it to, find, event organizers here on LinkedIn? What's that strategy like?
I think in finding event organizers is really key too, in building up those relationships so that you are top of mind with them. Having a speaker sheet, like having a one-page bio speaker sheet of places you've spoken at, topics that you cover, testimonials is really good too. The CRM I was telling you about has a lot of that. So it'll break it down. You can upload as many videos, it's really a portfolio of what you've done and where you've been and, getting that out there. So this, Nico, it's all about marketing. What did you say? We're all marketers?
This weird guy. He keeps saying we're all marketers.
He keeps saying it.
I kind of believe him sometimes, but like not. But
it's funny because you could say, I hate marketing, but you're always marketing, always marketing. Like even Social Connect, I'm always marketing. And so you have to. You're not just going to say, I want to be a speaker, sit on the sidelines and let people come to you. And that's this biggest misconception in business and entrepreneurship is it's just going to come to me. No, it doesn't. You have to actually go out and work for it. You have to make the connections and you have to keep following through, which, we've talked about this. That's where I see most people fail. They don't do the follow through. They don't go to people. They don't strike up the conversation. I mean, you have such a great opportunity, especially after you come off listening to a speaker, to then go to that speaker and spend a couple minutes with them, telling them, I loved your this is exactly how it happened actually with Sasha. Everybody left the room and I stayed behind because I'm like, I want to know this woman. I want to talk to her. She's doing what I want to do. How do I get to know her better? And that's how we struck up a conversation. And that's how I ended up getting her gig. So, I hate to say that. It seems so simple, but it is simple.
We as humans like to overcomplicate things. I don't know I was listening to a podcast and a guest on this podcast was saying everyone, like, there's two sets of people. They'll stay for the speech and leave. Then there's a person that'll go and then attack the speaker, right? Which both are interesting. But what this person said is go to the person that's standing close to them taking notes, because that's the assistant. Strike up a conversation there and then go to the speaker, because then now you've had two touches on that person, specifically. So just a little nudge in there.
Yeah.
So now I want to completely transition into what is it like being an entrepreneur in Phoenix? Because I know one of the things we talked about right before we jumped on is you really want to focus on growing a community here in Phoenix locally. But again, this can be applied to other people in other cities who are trying to build very localized events and communities. What's that journey been like?
It's been very receptive, and
that's awesome.
I love it.
I thought you were gonna say it was hard. So I was like bracing him, like follow-up questions.
You're like, she's gonna say like it's hell. No, it's been very receptive. In fact, I think you know me well enough that I push the envelope a little bit, and I always try to do something different, unique, because I'm looking for that. I don't want to follow in the footsteps of every single person that does an event here. So, I mean, even you coming to Social Connect before, you saw that I was like, here's my list of rules. follow
It
these
was
rules. Don't come
right.
in with these things. Don't come in trying to recruit people or pick
Can
up
you
people
share
on
some of those
dates.
rules? Like, because I
Yeah.
think they
Oh,
were,
yeah.
I've gone to many networking events where it's like the first you walk in and you are like okay, you're like flooded with people like trying to hand you their cards and like shaking hands and you kind of feel like a celebrity, and then 2 seconds later everyone leaves. So like
Yeah.
walk us through your rules, because for me that was where I was able to like everyone was on the same page with it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. We talk a lot about culture, culture in organizations. Well, culture at an event, similar, very similar. In fact, I've seen a lot of people use that word of Tisha's created this culture of when we go to an event, this is what you expect. And so I've really set the expectations of when you come to this event, there are 3 buckets. There's education, there's inspiration, and there's connections. That's what my promise is to you. That's what I deliver to you every time you come to this event. So the rules, and it's funny, my printer and I were like, this is like the Fight Club when we were putting the rules together and actually having a printout that made it legit. But I don't do business cards because, like you, Nico, I feel that people come and they abuse those business cards. They feel like every person in the room has to have one, and it ends up in the trash. It doesn't end up being put to good use. Very rarely does it.
Oh, absolutely.
A lot of people, I hate to say this, but they say, I will follow up with you, and then nothing ever happens. And you're like, well, that was a waste. You met me, but nothing ever happened aside from being at that event together. The other thing is I really don't want people pitching, trying to book you for a party, a candle party or any of that. Like, I really focus on genuine conversations. And I'll be honest, I would say that 90% of the people that come to these events are introverts. Yep. So how are we going to get them out of their own way to have a conversation, have a meaningful conversation with people? So you've seen even on my name tags, I always say, write your name down, but answer a question for me. And that really is just hey, let me give you a gimme so that you can start a conversation with the person, because you will probably ask, hey, so your one word was this year. Why did you say that? And now you get to start hearing from people like why they wrote what they wrote on their name tag, and you can reciprocate. That is the hardest thing, to go up to someone and strike up a conversation. It's almost probably like public speaking. Like, I don't know what to say. Well, and here's the thing. When people go to an event, what's the first question they usually ask you?
What do you do? Like, what's your name? It's just
I hate that.
It's so vanilla.
It's so basic. It's so vanilla.
It's true though. It's like
it is,
because within that first couple of seconds, you're gonna be like, you have this preconceived notion like, oh, real estate person, like I'm not gonna talk to you because of I don't need to buy real estate right now. But let's look at real estate, and that person's a person. They know people, and so that's why I was just like, I hate starting with that.
I say it all the time. In fact, I'm giving a talk at the American Marketing Association about this thing again, and about networking. And I say, when people ask me, what do you do? I hate to say it, but I probably am like, oh my gosh, like I roll. And the reason I say that is so many of us, a lot of us I know of, even of my own close-knit friends, they're not sure what they want to do with their lives yet. They don't know how to answer that question. So don't give them a hard question. Ask them about, hey, do you have pets? Ask them anything else, but what do you do? What do you do is like hey, let's get past a couple of dates first, and then let's talk about what you do. Because it's not about you, your business. It's about you, the person. And how do we meet people once again? Like, we're so fixated on titles, and it's like, I can't even deal with the titles.
I'm gonna plug what you did your event in. I'm so sorry I missed the one last week. We actually were in Maricopa for a potential client meeting. So I was so sad because I was like, I wanted to go to it. But what you did at the last event I went to was holiday. It was around what was that holiday? Halloween. And
Halloween.
You had asked us what was your favorite Halloween outfit. And it was great because everyone had all these interesting ones. And there's always a story behind them. So you were a catalyst for that story to start, and then conversation to go from there. And the nice thing is, without the use of massive amounts of alcohol,
business cards and alcohol. Oh yeah,
it's true.
and alcohol. Yeah.
So, people weren't people had a couple of drinks, but no one was bad, right? So, because they didn't need that. So I really want to now focus on, because I took this again. I took the wheel from stealing it.
No.
When you say because I've been to your events, they're always fun. You always learn a lot and you always meet great people. What's your thought process when you're putting together an event? Like, what do you look for, the people you want to come in, and how do you fulfill that promise that really like people are going to get a lot out of this event? Because one of the reasons I know you started this event was because you didn't want the typical go to a bar and, kind of meet other people, because it was boring, right? So walk us
Yeah.
through your thought process and how you make this fun.
For me, and my word that I shared is value. So
Mhm.
the word that I used for this year, and that's what I had asked everybody for their name tag. And there was one other person that had value on his name tag too. So you kind of find those commonalities when you're talking to people. But value is really, what's the value that you bring to the table? And as I shared with you before, Nico, I'd go to so many events and leave empty-handed. Like, oh, that was the biggest giant waste of my time. And I
Yeah,
hate
that was a
feeling
couple
like
hours
that.
of my life I can't get
I
back.
do. I feel like, if I leave feeling that way, then,
You're not going
it's
to go
like
back.
my time is so precious already because of
Hmm.
kids and husband and, just work and just self-care, that I'm like, it's got to count. It's got to count. And so for me, like creating an event that brought in several aspects of, I don't want to go to a bar and sit around and have a drink in my hand and try to eat a little something, and just try to make small talk. A lot of
Hmm.
people have said, I don't like small talk. I'm not good at small talk. Let's go into a conversation.
Hmm.
And so I think that a lot of it is really listening to what people are saying about what they want in an event and creating it for the people. It's
Hmm.
not for me, it's for the people. But I myself know that that's what I wanted myself. Like, I was looking for something like this. And when you create something that other people start to take notice, you do start to develop that tribe. Now I see a lot of regulars, and I don't know if you saw, Nico, but as soon as I posted photos of the event,
Oh, people got so happy.
oh my gosh,
Oh.
everybody became like their own ambassador for Social
Mhm.
Connect, which is what to me good marketing is. When other people talk about you, when you're not in the room, they're talking about you all the time, they're talking about this event, they're already inviting friends to April. So that's why this event has been, to me, really successful, because I am not the only one talking about it. It's other
Mhm.
people that are saying, I went, I got tremendous value, I met some great people, they're very much like me, and I didn't feel icky when I left, like I could have stayed more.
Yeah. You build a group of raving fans that really are there to support you because you supported them. It's like,
Yeah.
it's kind of like you provide so much value to them. Now they're going to provide value to you. So I love it. I think there's so much value in that. So we're getting towards the end of this conversation, but I really want you to just have the floor right now, plug, because I know you have so much going on, and I know there's some type of item in front of you right now that I know you want to lift up.
I
Lift
have a
up that.
couple things.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
share with us. This is your
Sure.
okay.
Okay. So this is my shameless plug. All right.
Do
Thanks,
it.
Nico.
Well, it's so
Well,
important, right? Like it's you've plugged me in my business at your events. Like that's I have this ability and have people following us, and you gave them value, so why not, right?
yeah. Okay. So, real quick, like I'm an author. I love writing about my own personal journey and the life lessons that I've experienced, because I think that they come into play for just about anybody and everybody. So I have my book, What Are the Odds? And in fact, What Are the Odds came out a couple years ago, but I'm getting ready to kind of reignite it with some more life lessons and video format for it, and some more articles and such. But this is on Audible. It's on Amazon. People swear by the Audible because it's me narrating. I know, Nico, you were narrating your book too. It's like the hardest project I've ever done in my entire life.
Oh, how long did it take
But
you? If because I finished mine up with and by the way, this is the real world. This is how business works. I asked her. I was like, listen, like I want to narrate my book. She's like, I got you. I got this great audio engineer, and I met Devin, and he was one of the kindest people ever.
my
So I was
dog
curious.
just came
Oh,
in.
it's all, like my door is fine. So I was like, there's a ghost. This could have been the best live ever if we just caught a ghost on
I know. This is my
on
boxer
live.
that's just coming in.
Oh, I love it. But yeah, that you recommended someone. I got their services, and that's the real world. So, how long did it take you to narrate your book?
You know what? I was very ambitious. I did it in 2 5-hour sessions. So
Oof.
believe me when I say that my voice was like cracking.
Yep.
I'm like, I need some water. And then my book is a very emotional read of just life, and the crap that gets thrown at you and what you got to do to pick yourself back up. So there were a lot of emotional parts where I'm like, I'm going to cry. I'm going to cry. And Devin was so great about saying, just let it go. Like, just cry if you need to cry. Just open up, just don't hold back. And that's exactly what the book is. It's a very real read. When people are listening to it too, they really get a sense of me, the person, and who I am and how I dealt with some certain things. And I mean, I would do it again. I would do it again, even though it was painful. I would do it again with an audio.
Love it. So sorry, I interrupted your show. So with the book, with the social connect, with the podcast I dropped in there.
Yes. So podcast, these are my little vinyl stickers. Thanks to Artists in Color and plugging them. They're my print sponsor. And Success Over Struggle really is, in a way, it is the book. Like, I could have named the book Success Over Struggle because it's so much about more of the failures that I went through and the success that I found. But Success Over Struggle is a podcast that I release every other week, and it's local entrepreneurs here in the Phoenix area that are willing to come into the studio with me and have a conversation and just be vulnerable. Like, share one thing in your life that really, could have deterred you, but you got back up and you kept going with it. And I love that. I very much like you and I doing this live right now, Nico. I love being able to hear from other people because I get inspired by that. That keeps me moving. It keeps me moving. So Success Over Struggle. And then I'm always looking to meet with people, who maybe just have an idea that they want to get out or they need mentoring or consulting help. So I offer a virtual latte, 30-minute virtual latte just to get connected. And because you never know, like you asked me, who do you know? Well, I know a lot of people. Nico knows a lot of people. Like, we're big connectors. So if you ask me, I have no problem saying, hey, I know someone for you, and that's how we get the ball rolling. It's how we get the ball rolling.
I could not agree more. So I'm going to drop your LinkedIn in here. But any last closing, I always like to end these on a positive note, like any last tips or anything that you have for the audience that, they could take away and start applying today. It could be about speaking, marketing, whatever you want. What's that one tangible tip for our audience today?
The one thing that I would share is that every single one of us has a personal brand, every single one of us, and it's unique to you. No matter what job you get let go of, or you pivot, or you change your direction, you will always be you. So having a personal brand is so important. And that's what I love to be able to help people just determine, who are you? What do you stand for? What do you bring to the table? And really just, create things around who you are. So
I love that. That is awesome. Yes. And just for all the people who hear the personal brand and cringe, it's just another word for personal reputation. Just now on a different platform. Instead of networking events, it's online. So I just have to do that because I get a lot of, but I'm in XYZ industry and personal branding is like looked bad about. And I was like, it's just reputation. Just another word.
It's your reputation, right? Your reputation precedes you. It's one of those things that, to me, it's like gold. You don't tamper with your reputation. Like, it speaks volumes for you.
Oh, absolutely. Yep, it's everything. So I would say thank you so much and just acknowledge you for everything you do for local entrepreneurs. I know that the community you're building both here and online are just flourishing with people who really are changing the world. And you're a great catalyst for making things happen. And actually, there's a lot of talk, but I see out there, but there's a lot of you doing. So I just want to acknowledge you for a second. And again, I can't stress this enough. And this is like some little theme at the end of our conversations is you can actually build real relationships online. We connected through LinkedIn. And now look at us. Like, I've spoken at your event. You've been on my live. You never know what can happen from that. But you have to just go out and try it, right? I think that's a general theme for today. It's just stop thinking too much and start doing more, right?
Exactly.
So that's awesome. So please connect with her if you have not. She is really, really out there changing the world. And if I put my little stamp on it, maybe that means something, maybe it doesn't, but to me it does. So I'm going to end the live here. We'll chat for a couple minutes afterwards, but thank you so much for being on, and every audience have the best day ever. If I did not get to your comment, I apologize. I was so invested in this conversation. But anyway, a fantastic day, and we'll see you guys later.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, Nico.
Boom.